art, think about my art as prints and stickers, and it's something where I think the biggest motivation too is like, oh, I've always wanted to sell my art, and then art market was a way for me to be like, okay, there's a deadline and an event coming up, so this needs to be done instead of like, oh, maybe I'll do it in the future.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point of having, and there's a lot of support, which is why the art market is great for first time. It's great for veterans, and we want to see a mix. It's also great for first time vendors, people who have never priced or sold their work before. And that was quite a few people last year. And the reason it's good for that is A, it's low stakes, and we offer a lot of support in the prep and post workshop, which is required if you're a student. If you're an alumni, you do not need to attend those, but they are there to help support with thinking about pricing and what's your elevator pitch and really just setting you all up for success. Sean, thanks for sharing your experience, and we are good to go. So I'm going to share my screen and let's see. Great. Okay. Um, so everyone, welcome to Art Market 2026. And this is really exciting because we are um, upping upping the game here. We are it's going to be twice as big as it was last year. So we've got space for about 85 vendors. And we are also opening it up to alumni for the first time. Last year it was just student vendors. And we've limited it to 5 years out. And so it'll be a nice ratio of student and alumni vendors mixed throughout. And there's slightly different, well, there's a different application, which you'll find on the webpage, but let's go through it. And there's plenty of time at the end of this for questions. So if you've got questions, feel free to put it in the chat, or there'll be time at the end you can ask it. Okay, so we will get into the specifics of Art Night Pasadena, then what we're looking for in the applications, what the requirements are. We'll go through the application questions, frequently asked questions, and then have Q&A. So Art Night, and I'm sure many of you have experienced it, it's a really cool event. They 30,000 people attend this event. There's 20 or so cultural and arts institutions that are involved with it all throughout Pasadena. And they have a shuttle that takes people from one location to another. So they've made it really easy to move people around and get people coming to the different events. um, Art Center is always one of the key hubs, key locations, because we usually have a few different things going on, and we will this year. I know that there will be at least one exhibition happening in the 1111 building, and then Art Market is going to be happening in the 950 building. And there might be even more, but there's going to be two things. So that'll make it even more appealing for people to come here because they'll be able to go to two things. And then I think there is something happening on Hillside as well. So the what, when, why, where. It's for student and alumni to sell their work, build community. Um, so many reasons why. One, to get your work out there. Um, this is a broad and local audience, right? So it's Pasadena, but it's going to be a wide. It'll attract a wide variety of people that are local. Um, for students, it's really a great opportunity to develop your practical business skills. It's one thing to learn about business skills in theory, but to actually be able to apply it to your work is is exciting, and it really helps you kind of understand the concepts and be able to actually like build those skills. um, for alumni, it's a great opportunity to connect with the Pasadena community, to earn extra income, make new friends. So there's lots of reasons why This is a great thing to participate in, and especially if you're a first time vendor, because we will provide a lot of support. It is happening Friday, October 9th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. For current students, that's week 4 of fall. So it's kind of an ideal time frame in our schedule. And it's happening in the Oculus space. There's 2 different spaces in Oculus. Holly and I are calling it Oculus One and Oculus Two, but it's essentially right there. They're right next to each other in the 950 building. And it is application based. So you have to apply, be accepted. For students, there are 2 mandatory workshops. They're each an hour long. And they're really designed to set you up for success. Um, there is also, if you're a first time vendor, you're required to schedule 1 advising appointment with me. And we also ask that you fill out a reflection survey at the end. This is for everyone. It takes under, I would say 7 minutes, and it really helps us learn how we can improve the experience. So this is for the student application. The next slide will talk about what we look for in the alumni application. This is a curated event. It's also an experiential learning opportunity. So we're using that lens, and we are looking for responses to your application that show that you have self-awareness of like areas that you want to develop, skills that you want to develop. We also want to make sure that the objects that you'd like to sell do not look like assignments. That was something that I noticed last year, and it's understandable. That's like you're inundated with assignments. It makes a lot of sense. There are ways that you can translate an assignment into something that's a product. And this will help you be more successful. And we will talk more about this in the workshops. And certainly, if you want to book an advising appointment with me, be happy to specifically talk about what maybe assignments or work you have and how it could be translated into something that would be really compelling in an art market. Quality, and this is really just like you've thought through the process, you're realistic about, your answers are kind of based in reality. And then variety, uniqueness, we are thinking about from the customer standpoint, we want this to be an exciting art market, and we want to make sure that it has a lot of variety, that each booth isn't selling kind of the same thing. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about what you want to sell. There's nothing wrong with stickers and keychains. It makes sense to sell those things because they're inexpensive, and that there's a lot of people will be selling that. That tends to be what I've noticed, at least just last year. There were a lot of that product. So if you're looking to have a competitive application, I would say try to push yourself beyond the keychains and stickers. It's okay to have some of that. But again, thinking about most of the customers will be adults. I mean, of course, there'll be a lot of students, but the people with disposable income, thinking about what are the kind of things that they would want to buy, what would be exciting for them. And then quantity. This is really just making sure that you've got enough product to fill a table. And the student table space is 3 feet by 3 feet. Or actually, that's a typo. It's 2.5 feet. It's 30 inches deep is the table, and you'll be splitting a 6-foot table. So it's 2.5 feet by 3 feet for the student table. So for alumni, what we are looking for is quality, that your products are really well made, uniqueness, that you are selling products that will contribute to the variety and uniqueness of the overall of the art market. And then customer centric, you have the audience in mind. You're selling objects that will appeal to audience. So the big thing here for the alumni application is that you're going to add variety to the art market. What I noticed last year, students tend to have less expensive products because that's what's in reach for them, that's accessible for them. And so we're looking for alumni to kind of elevate and expand the types of products that we can sell. One person last year, they didn't end up doing it, but I loved this submission. They were doing live portraiture. And I thought that was really cool. So, something to think about too, it doesn't have to be physical products. You can think about having an experience, an art experience. Um, so really we want this to be an exciting art market where there's a lot of variety, there's a lot of energy, and we're really open to how that shows up. So some questions to ask yourself when you're filling out the application, because how you present yourself in the application is how you present yourself at the market, right? So, um, did you provide a level of detail in your application that gives us confidence that you can fill the table? Um, are you selling things that you own the IP to? This is important because fan art, I know a lot of people like to do fan art, but fan art, you don't own the IP for. So unfortunately, we can't have fan art at the art market. Were you specific in your list of items in the application? And we'll go through the questions in a few minutes. Um, we ask you to list out kind of the name of the product. It doesn't have to be all of them, but like 5 or 6 products. So we get a sense for kind of what your table will look like. And just making sure that it's clear to us. So we get a clear, accurate picture of what you're planning. Um, for students, did you clearly state what you want to learn from the experience? This is important. You'll learn a ton, but it's always helpful to be intentional about it and kind of going in knowing, oh, this is an area I haven't had a chance. I haven't I haven't had an opportunity to practice this skill. Here's your opportunity, and kind of going in being aware of that is helpful. Do you have thoughtful responses to what challenges you might face? This is for the student application. That's one of the questions that we ask you. And this goes back to that quality line where it's like, have you thought through all the steps? Um, this question gets to that, right? Like, because you have to walk through all the steps from prep to day of to after to identify like what challenges you might face. Do your objects look like class assignments? This is probably the biggest challenge for students, understandably. But there's easy fixes. There's ways to do it. It just takes a little bit of time and intention, and we're happy to work with you on that. And then overall, will your table contribute to an exciting art market experience? That's what we're looking for. So there are some requirements. Um, you must be a current or LOA student in the fall or alumni who graduated in 2021 or later. The students must attend a prep and post art market workshop and fill out a reflection survey. Alumni are welcome to attend that workshop, but it is not a requirement. To vend, you must legally be allowed to make money in the US. But for our F1 visa holders, you can do a display only table. And that was very effective. That was, you got the same kind of experience for the most part of pitching your work, of engaging with customers. So it is worth doing. Okay, so a note on class project versus art market product. A class project answers a brief. Um, a product answers a customer's unspoken question. When a customer is coming up to your table, they're thinking and they're looking at your amazing wares. They're thinking, what is the function of this product? What problem does it solve for me? Do I need this? So thinking about, as I ask all the students or people who have not vended before, to put your customer hat on, right? Think about the times you've gone to art markets and or flea markets. what is the frame of mind that you have when you're looking at a table? How do you evaluate a table? So thinking about it in those terms will help you make decisions on what kind of things you should include. And one more slide on this. Um, this is a good test for anyone if you got like a cool thing that maybe was a class assignment or some other project and you want to repurpose it for art market, show it to someone that is unfamiliar with it and don't explain it at all and give them 3 seconds to look at it and then ask them what do they think it is. um, in its current state, what problem does this assignment solve for your customer? um, and then what could you do to this assignment that would make it more useful or compelling? So how do you turn this assignment into something? As an example, say you've got a great drawing, right? Or from type class or illustration class, say. You can turn that, it can be an art print, or maybe um, put it on a mug, or maybe it is a calendar, or maybe you turn it into cards, greeting cards, that sort of thing. So just thinking about what do people like to buy at these things, um, and how can you translate what you have if it's not designed for art market in its original shape? How can you translate it into something that people would really find useful and want to buy? So here, and I will share this deck with you so that you will have all the information, including this stuff. But here's some ideas of things. And I didn't put in some of the like kind of time-based, experience-based stuff, but you know, if you've got some ideas, we are open. Okay, so now we will get into the application questions. We ask, and this is for both applications, list the items you plan to sell. This is the structure that we would like. Um, just a very short description of what it is, the size, the quantity, and the price. This can change. Don't feel like you're locked in. We want to get it. This will give us a sense of the kind of things that we can expect for your table. We're going to be evaluating this to make sure um, that we've got variety across the whole art market. And then also that, it is, you're thinking about price and quantity, that you've got enough stuff to fill a table. Here are some examples I pulled from last year, because we ask you to upload up to 5 images of what you plan to sell. And this first image is great because, look at all those products in one photo. So that's great. I mean, they all kind of relate, so they don't have to, but feel free to show more than one object in a photo because you only have 5 pictures. This next image I included because, I love that they show quantity. And there's some variation. I get a sense of the size here as well. So that's a great picture. The third one I like because they've set up an art market and it looks like they set it up outside, like in front of their apartment. That's totally fine. Don't feel like you have to do this, but it is helpful for us. It does make it easier to see all of your products. So it's just an option. If you have a picture, a lot of you I know have vended before. Feel free. We'd love to see one of your past vending tables, even if it's different stuff that you plan to sell. It doesn't, but just so we can see kind of how you set it up and like what the style is of your table. And then lastly, this image, this was early on and they didn't have everything mocked up, but they took, they had references and then they explained what this was going to be. And so it's fine to do that, but I would encourage you to have as much of it mocked up, looking as real as possible. But there is plenty of time. So even if you showed something like this where it's a really rough mock-up, we know that there's plenty of time, and we did that on purpose. By the time you find out you've been accepted, to actually making the things and getting it produced. So that's why we're starting so early, so that you all have plenty of time. Last year that was a little tight, and so we've made adjustments this year. This is for the student application. We ask, what do you hope to learn or achieve? And we'd like, it to be a specific skill that you hope to develop. Thinking about the process, all the different skills that you will need to practice and engage with, and what's an area that's the growth area for you, maybe something you haven't done yet. What's one challenge that you anticipate, and how do you plan to address this? This shows us that you have self-awareness, and that you're also um, in are able to kind of identify some solutions. So again, visualizing the whole process, walk yourself through. Is there anything where you're like, ooh, that doesn't give me energy? Like figuring out inventory spreadsheets or something like that. That's maybe an indication that that's a growth area. Um, so you can also like look up, YouTube has some great videos, and I link some at the end of this, I believe, or in one of the resources. But watch some of these like vendor um, YouTube videos, and you'll get ideas there of like they'll walk you through different steps, and maybe anything that you haven't done before could be an area that might be a challenge. And then how will you invite customers to stay connected with you after the event? And this isn't something you have to do, but we ask this because we want you to be thinking about the relationship that you have with the customer, right? It's an opportunity. This is really the business mindset of how do you, once you've attracted a customer once, how do you keep them engaged? If they bought one thing from you, chances are they might buy more things from you. Do you have Instagram? Do you want to make sure that they know how to find you on Instagram? Do you have a newsletter? Do you put out a newsletter? Maybe you've got a sign up sheet. And if you don't have any of that stuff, that's okay too. But we ask this question because we want you to be thinking about this art market is an opportunity for you to get new customers and clients and get your work out there. And what do you want to do with that? Is it a one-time thing? You never see them again? That's okay. But it also could be an opportunity for you to have it to be the beginning of a relationship where they're, able to find you and buy more things from you. All right. So let's get into some FAQs. The deadline is July 17th. It cost money to participate? It is free if you're a current student or you graduated last year. We are charging a $25 vendor fee for alumni who graduated in 2024 or earlier. And the reason is it's, a lot of resources on our end to get all the, to rent the kind of furniture and just coordinate internally and set up the space. This vendor fee covers for alumni a 5-foot table, a chair, and a black tablecloth. Art Market is open to all students, all terms, all majors. And last year we had people as early as term 3 participating. And then you are legally allowed to make money in the US. If you are on an F1 visa, it is no problem. We would love to have you participate, and you would do a display only table. The time commitment, we mentioned the 2 hour long workshops, and then a 30-minute advising a session with me if you have not done any vending before. On the day of, you'll need to arrive by 3 p.m. So you have a 3-hour window to set up. You might be able to arrive sooner. Holly and I will let you know as we get closer. There are classes in that space, and we have to set up the room. So plan on 3 p.m. you might get a little bit, you might be able to come in a little bit earlier. And then you'll need to stay for the duration of the art market. It's 6 to 10 p.m. And then you'll need to take everything with you that night. So, just keep that in mind. It's going to be a long day. So there are dates for the mandatory prep and post art market workshop, and these are the dates. Um, if you aren't able to make one and you have a very good reason, please email me ahead of time and let me know. Alumni do not need to attend the prep and post workshops, but you're certainly invited. Um, and then we talked about this earlier, but the alumni applications are going to be judged based on, are they contributing to the variety and quality of the art market? Um, these are the dimensions that the the student applications will be judged. So we went over this earlier, and I will send this deck to you. But it has the application guide. Also, if you have not been to the art market webpage, I will drop that in chat when I'm uh, not sharing my screen, because that has everything. That has a FAQ. It has a whole bunch of resources, including a manufacturing guide. So, like, if you're trying to figure out where to get things manufactured, um, yeah, it has a whole bunch of stuff there, including links to the applications. And we mentioned this before. So the students will get a 6-foot table that they will share with one other student, and alumni will get their own 5-foot table. And then we are providing tablecloths and chairs. You are responsible for any additional display equipment. If you do have additional display equipment, we will need to know way ahead of time, so that we can put you in the right location, because some locations will be better. We have a little bit more space for something that's maybe like a rack or something that's needs more floor space. Um, you will not have access to the wall behind you. There will be technically a wall behind you, but you won't be able to put any holes into the wall. And for fairness, let's just say kind of walls are off limits. Focus on your table. And if you have any physical uh, display equipment, we should be able to accommodate that if we know ahead of time. Um, when can I set up my table? Starting at 3 p.m. And I see a typo there. Um, Food is not provided. So please bring a meal to eat before the event, and snacks and waters to sustain you during the event. That will be a long day. Um, the restrictions, we reserve the right to pull anything that is offensive, overly sexual, or hurtful to others. We just, that's not in the spirit of the event. I don't worry about that. And if you're not sure, feel free to email me the image and just be like, hey, would this work? And I'll let you know. Um, no fan art, because that's not, you need to own the IP of the things that you're selling. And then, um, yeah, I would say what kind of things sell best? A whole range. People love ceramics. They love wearables, greeting cards, note cards, is a big winner as well, especially if you've got like all these cool drawings and illustrations. Turn them into greeting cards and note cards. And art prints are great too. I would say stickers and keychains are pretty common. So just be mindful that is, if you have those products, those are not going to help you stand out. Not to say you can't have them, but just those are probably the most common. So I would make sure that you've got some other exciting things on your table as well. How do I price my work? This is an important question. It's personal. Um, and we will talk more about it in the prep workshop. We talk about pricing strategy. And this would be a good thing too. If you want to have an advising appointment with me, you are welcome to book that. And we can talk specifically about your case. Um, there is a list where you can get your designs produced. It's on the web page as well, the same list, and you'll have this deck, and you'll be able to check it out. I would say allow at least a month for manufacturing. Again, this is the reason we're starting so early so that we can give you all as much time as possible to create by hand or have things manufactured without having to pay a rush fee. And then there are some other resources. These are some great YouTube videos I found. So you can check those out as well. And then lastly, the key dates. So we will be reviewing July 20th to the 29th. We will let everyone know, all applicants will hear back from us by August 3rd. And then you will have, I guess it looks like a little over 2 weeks to confirm your participation. So you will fill out, it's like a one pager. You basically sign and you're like, I'm in. Um, and that is when for the alumni, we will ask for the vendor fee. And then if this is your first time ever doing a market, making an advising session with me between August 21st and 31st. You'll get this info. So like, if you've been accepted, it'll be very clear what the next steps are in the timeline. And then we have the event is October 9th. And then for students, the post art market workshop, you've got two options is the October 13th or 16th. And that's really, we talk about taxes, which is really important. We talk about kind of what we learned. We reflect, which is really helpful. And then, yeah, like what you would do differently next time, because that's, while it's fresh in your mind, it's really great to document that. So that is the initial presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see all of you. And yeah, and I want to invite all of you, if you can, to take to show your faces. That would be appreciated. Um, and let me see what I'm looking in chat to see what questions people might have. I love it. I'm a proud alumni. Um, okay. Okay. So someone asked, yeah, alumni get 5-foot tables. Yep. Even if you don't pay. Yeah. We know that you're just starting out and we want to be mindful of that. For alumni who graduated this year, would the table would be 5-foot table. Yep. Is it possible to booth with a partner? Absolutely. That was a thing we did last year. People asked, and we were able to accommodate. And I think it made a big difference. People really enjoyed vending with their buddy. So yeah, when it gets closer, we'll ask you, like, is there someone that you would like to vend next to or share a table with? And we'll make that happen. Um, Yes. What's involved in the prep workshop? Good question. I'm a little rusty because I haven't looked at it since a year ago, but it's pricing strategy. We talk about inventory. We'll probably spend more time talking about um, how to translate assignments into products, because that was an area I noticed last year that was like, okay, I want to make sure that we're supporting students in that way. Um, what else do we talk about in the pricing strategy? Oh, personal branding and tabling. We talk about like how to set up your table. There's a checklist that we give. I think it's actually on the art market website. So it's really helping people plan for art market and think about the different aspects of it. But I
I have a
will,
question.
yeah. Hmm.
Do you also talk to the vendors about how to interact with the customers?
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that was something that made an impression on me last art market is um, when the students um, talk to me about their process, any storytelling that went along with their products. You know, I know as an art center student, you hear that all the time, story, story, story. But it really does help you make a connection with the customers. And I loved hearing the story behind the piece that I bought. It just obviously personalizes it and helps you just resonate with the customer. So anyway,
Hmm.
more to come on that, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. And that is very much, that was part of the prep last year, was like having people think about what is your elevator pitch, or like how are you gonna um initiate conversation, right? Because people usually come up to the booth and they're kind of looking around, might smile at you, and like, how do you start that conversation? How do you kind of pull them
Mhm.
in? I think Sean, you were really good at that last year. So we talk about that, like different entry points. Is it process? Is it story? Is it materials? That sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. What involved? Yeah. Um, and is it Milka, I think? Milka, is that right?
Yes, it is. Hi.
Oh, hi, Milka. Yeah, I will, because I'll invite alumni to the prep workshop and I'll give you the overview, like in that invitation. Um, I'll share kind of what the topics will be so then you can decide you know,
That's great.
if
Uh,
it's good for you.
I'm an alumni many years ago, but I've switching career from design to art. Would that be a possibility to make an appointment and speak to you, start a conversation, or is that just for recent alumni?
It's normally we it's just a year out, but we make exceptions all the time, and this certainly would be one. So absolutely, I can share my Calendly link with you.
That'd be,
And
thank you.
yeah, um, let me just make a note of that.
I was gonna ask a question if that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Um,
please.
so I remember for last art market, the audience was a little bit limited to the like alumni event that was there. And I'm curious if you have more information about the audience this time around and what that will look like, especially when prepping the amount we have for our inventory.
That's a good question, Sean. I don't know. And I went on their website. I went on Art Night Pasadena's website, and I couldn't get a sense for um I feel like it's pretty broad because it's all of Pasadena. But Holly, do you know, or has anyone else participated in Art Night?
I don't
I,
specifically know, but I would probably generally agree with you that it's probably a broad audience, but maybe skewing a little on the older side. Um, that would be my guess.
yeah. And it depends too, because I did go to it last year, and I went to the Gamble House, and I went to the Armory. And the Armory was more kids, it was family and kids. And then the Gamble House was like older. Yeah, so I think it's a whole range. And so really it's like, what will art market attract? I I think it's gonna be pretty broad.
I
Um,
just, I just put it in into Google AI. It said diverse crowd of over 30,000 attendees. The audience features a robust mix of families, teens, students, and seniors. So
Yeah.
pretty much everybody.
More in the
Covers
sense
everybody.
knowing how art market was last year and it it felt like more of a smaller audience. So I guess like trying to figure out the amount of inventory is more of my question because I think I like art night does seem like it's going to be a wider audience, but just trying to figure out if it's like more or around the same amount of people as it was last year.
That's a good question because this is our first time doing it too. And like, I don't have anything to compare it to. I will say, Sean, that Polly and I we're working with Marcom here. We plan to aggressively promote it. Um, and get ahead of time, like in the past, outside of our art center bubble. So I think it'll be a good showing. It's hard to, it'll definitely be larger than the alumni gathering. I don't know how many people that was, but um, and then hopefully, everyone who's in art market is also promoting it to their community and people. But yeah, it's just so hard to say because we've never done it before with this in this context. Um, I can find out, we'll find out how many people typically come to Art Center during art night, but I don't even know how accurate that is because we haven't had an art market before. I feel like that's going to draw more people. Um, yeah, I know that's always the proverbial question, like how much inventory. Um, all right, let me go up to anyone else have questions, comments, questions, anything?
Yeah, hi. I had a really quick question about the display furniture, specifically for the alumni spaces. Considering that we have a 5 foot space, are we allowed to bring and use our own display furniture instead of using the table provided?
Possibly. How is your table different? Like what's
It, I'm honestly reusing what I used for grad show, so it's just a shelf with a couple more slots in order to kind of fit my products in each of those cavities.
Yeah, a part of that shouldn't be an issue. If you send a picture, when you submit, can you send a picture of it?
Yeah.
We will do our best to accommodate you all. And that's another reason, A, why I pulled in Holly, um, and why we're starting so early, so that we can really, our goal is to make sure that you're all showcased as beautifully as possible. So, um, what are some other questions? Okay, while you all are thinking, let me look
Oh,
and see.
so I was gonna
Hmm?
ask one more,
Yeah.
uh, which is it's a little bit more specific to how I displayed my booth last year. Um, but I was curious about the idea of theming and our own artistic brand because I remember for last year's booth, I had like my original IP characters, which were like more cartoony, like geared towards kids. And then I also displayed more artwork that was focused on Hindu themes and Hinduism. And I think what I'm curious about is for theming, if it makes sense to kind of go in like one direction of, okay, like these are like more of the cartoony characters, or if having a mix kind of works, or if it's just kind of like up to us.
Mm. I want to open this question up because I bet there's people in this room, this virtual room, that have done a good amount of vending. Does someone want to, does anyone who's vended have a point of view on Sean's question? Like if it's better to have a really focused booth or have a themed booth or not?
I think theme booths often bring in a lot of people because it usually ends up setting you apart from other booths. I think like usually when you're theming it, that could also include theming your displays themselves. Um, and like if you have a specific character design that you usually like pushing forward, it's kind of like you're creating a little mini experience for your audience, even though it's like a 3 foot space. And it's so then you're basically starting to think about the experience of your audience and
Mm.
what'll land the hardest.
Mm. I like that. It's almost like creating a world within your table. That's great. Thanks, Aparna, for responding to that. Um,
Just to add
okay.
really quick too, sorry.
Yeah.
Considering that your target audience, they would obviously gravitate toward whatever iconography you might have around to theme your booth. You can also, if you're willing, see sometimes people who may not be your target audience would still be attracted to the booth, maybe because like your iconography or your colors or the theme that you're going for stands out. And so you're starting to bring people in also by curiosity. And that always helps.
Yeah. And Sean, knowing your work too, because you do a lot of the Hindu gods and it is a world, right? Like I think having from last year, maybe if there's a way to um, have more explanation, or I don't know, I think you kind of create this world. It would work well with your stuff, or at least from last year, what I remember.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it might be actually trying to figure out which direction to go to because I had that and then I had the character Jamie that I had, and then a couple other characters. And I feel like having like from the advice, especially from this info session of like having something a little bit more focused to kind of draw people in might be helpful.
Yeah. Um, okay, Dennis asks, how much variety of products do you recommend? I mean, it's okay to that's kind of a little bit of a tough question. I guess we're thinking about variety overall. So as we're going through the applications, we're we want to make sure that the customer who will probably see all of the booths feels like they've had a lot of variety. So it's a little bit hard to tell. So you don't feel like you in one table have to have a ton of variety. It's more thinking about you're going to be one of like 80 people. So can you offer something that maybe no other table has offered? I know that maybe is a little bit of a tough reach, but something the way to be thinking about it, like what can you offer that'd be really unique? And if everyone thought that way, then we will have a really, a lot of variety. Um, okay, so for the alumni space, can we bring our own display? Okay, Aparna asked that. Yeah, Aparna, send a picture. We should be able to make that work. Um, Doris asked, do we have a rough idea of quantity range we should prepare for? It really depends, Doris, and I can work with you specifically. You might have a, you know, say you have like um, some prints. You might want to have a few prints that you offer, or yeah, it really kind of depends. It's a tough call. I think that's kind of case by case. We can kind of see what you are offering. 2 feet by 3 feet is not a ton of space, and so thinking about your display. So if you're able to, I would say mocking up your table. That's something that we suggest people do definitely beforehand and taking a photo so that day of, you're not making decisions, you're just setting up, but maybe well before that so you can see kind of what the gaps are. Um, okay, so do you have a rough idea of quantity rate? Okay, yeah. Okay, and then I shared my advising link. I would say if you could give me a week or two, or maybe like next week should be okay. But yeah, I would say like in the next if it's time sensitive, then go ahead and book something for next week. But otherwise, if you can give me like one extra week, because um Catalyst Studios, which Doris knows, is taking up a lot of my attention these days. Um, Okay, and then it all comes down to who your target audience is and what kind of experience do you want to sell to them. You can't target everyone. Okay. Um, also have the same concern because I wanted to experiment a variety of products. Would this be a good opportunity for that? Yeah. Doris, are you willing to share what,
Uh,
like, yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, you said like, I'm curious, you wanted, I heard the word experiment and I get excited. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's similar to like what Sean was talking about. Like he has like a really like two opposite direction of like cutesy or like character design, and then like a more a different kind of direction. So I also have different directions. I don't know if this is like a good opportunity for us to like test which is more popular in these kind of contexts like art market, and what sells better than other products. So I don't know if this is for first time vendor, like if this is a good time for experimenting, or we should keep it definitely in like a overall theme for the table so it catches more attention.
I vote for experiment. I think that will lead to more exciting art market. And this is a learning opportunity. This is low stakes. This is a safe place to try things out. Um, so that would be my recommendation. Holly, what are your thoughts on that? Oh, you're muted. Holly, you're muted.
I'm sorry, Maria. I was reading an email
Oh,
that
oh,
just
good. Oh,
came in.
good.
What was the question?
Just, Doris, how would you phrase that? It was like if you should experiment with a few products or kind of play it safe.
Oh, yeah, Doris, I saw your question in the chat. I would say it really depends on what you hope to get out of the experience.
Mhm.
If you're looking at this as like a test case where maybe you haven't put your products in front of consumers before, this would be a really great opportunity to get their feedback in a very like low stakes kind of friendly environment. And you can also engage with them about, what are you responding to? I saw you pick that up. Why did you pick that up and not something else, in a very friendly way. So it really depends on what you want to come out of this experience and opportunity to interact with the public. I say use it to your advantage and get answers on whatever you want to get answers on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think I can definitely like also keep it under like a big theme and then like experiment different like types of products. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
And
yeah.
going back to what I was saying about storytelling, if you have a reason for why any one product is on your table, like talk about it. These may seem like
Right.
disparate ideas, and this may not correspond with this, but let me tell you about
Mhm.
me as a designer and why these two things make perfect sense in my mind. As long as you can talk it through and
Mhm.
it's really personal and organic, it will resonate with consumers. I promise you. As long as it's genuine and and reflective of your experience as a designer.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
great. Great advice. All right. Well, it is time. Thank you all so much for joining. We will follow up with the deck and a link to this. And then, you know how to reach us. So reach out if you've got questions or anything. We're really excited to get your application and to have you all just created a really exciting art market together.
Oh, wait, sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
Art Center offers like printing and stuff for like prints and things, or do we kind of have to go outside of that?
I don't know about that. I don't know if there's like a lab that you all can use, or is that what you're saying? Sean, are you saying that
Oh no,
Art
I
Center
was just
offers?
asking for clarification on that because I think there is, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. There's a copy center.
Mhm.
If you're looking to print some of your products, yeah. the copy center, there's one on Hillside, there's one at 1111.
Yeah. And the risograph, I know people were using that. That's like, I think it's a free lab or you have access to it, and that's a great place to make products. Yeah, I say use the Art Center resources if you can.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, good to see you all. And we will look forward to reviewing your application and working with you.
Maria, can you hang on with me for
Sure. Yep.
Bye,
Sure can.
everybody. It was great to meet you. I look forward to
You all.
working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.